Impetus, episode 102. We kick off tonight's episode with a backstage interview, in the interview area, with Jimmy Sparrow. The interviewer welcomes all to the show and promotes the handicap match tonight between Greg Williams and Empire and the return matches of both Skar and Gary Federline. However, another match we will see is Steven Dreadful facing the new #1 contender to the World Impetus Championship and their guest right now, Jimmy Sparrow. Jimmy is seen with a lot on his mind. Before he faces Dreadful later tonight, he is asked how he feels after the confrontation he had with Greg Williams last week. Jimmy admits that to compete for the world title, he needs to stay focused and calm. He can't afford to have any distractions, as this is a rare second shot at the gold. Hoping to hype himself up, Jimmy is stopped by a panicking Jarvis Banks and Emille. Jimmy's allies are not only worried about what happened last week with the creepy condemnation mask appearing before them, but also had to deal with this when they arrived at the arena. Mark then shows a mangled crowbar in which the two drove over as they entered the arena earlier tonight. Dylan Dark is out to get them. Demanding that they call out the sadistic bastard, the two drag Jimmy by the arm, only to be stopped as Jimmy refuses to walk with them. He tells them that he needs to stay focused for his title match at the 2-year anniversary spectacular and can't afford any distractions. Mark and Jarvis are stunned and offended. They ask if Jimmy is serious. After putting themselves on the line 2 weeks ago and being subjected to the pain and punishment delivered by Dylan, all thanks to Jimmy, he's just going to bail on them? Jimmy tries to defend himself with Jarvis and Mark understanding their placement. They understand what a big star Jimmy is now that he has a big title match coming up. They wouldn't want to put him out of his way any longer. Jarvis and Mark exit with anger while Jimmy wants to help but is driven to stay focused. After an intro to the show, an advertisement for tonight's events take place. Gary Federline returns. After missing out on episode 100, the previously injured Gary Federline hopes to regain his momentum. Also tonight, a #1 Contenders match, all-women battle royal takes place. Kelly Sales, Jackie Sky, Susan, Jade Williams, Jacinta and Akira take place in this all-female battle royal to determine the next challenger to Daria's title. And the main event, a 2-on-1 handicap match between Empire and Greg Williams is set to take place. Will the president ever stop his unfair treatment? We then head into immediate action. Enter the Essentials. Enter Skar and Susan. The demonic siblings enter for the first time since episode 100, ready for combat. As they enter, a replay from episode 100 is shown. Highlights of Dominic Silver's demise is shown and how he was drowned in the riverbank match, thanks to the siblings. After the replay, match 1, Freddy Cornell with Josh Alba versus Skar with Susan. Skar dominates the entirety of the match, only for Alba to get involved multiple times. Before Skar can act, Susan rips him apart on the outside. Chucking Alba in the ring, Susan and Skar hit the Essentials with stereo resurrections. Showing their dominance, they pin both men at the same time. The official, at first, hopes to clear Susan out of the ring. After all, she isn't a legal competitor. Attempting to approach her, the official jumps with fear as the demonic sister hisses at him, demanding him to count. In fear, the official does as demanded, counting the 3 for the sinister siblings. Winner, Skar. As the powerful brother and sister unit exit, we then see the commentary team. They speak of what the 2-year anniversary spectacular will bring, as the ownership of the company is on the line. Not only that, but Riki Mathews may be sued heavily, as both he and the president, Sam Pullen, will compete in a match to determine each other's fate. Aaron takes us back to last week to remind us of what went down. Promo package. Riki Mathews versus Sam Pullen. A promo of last week's opening is shown, having Sam fool the world by remaining in power, despite his adrenaline unit being dead and gone. With Riki Mathews standing up to his boss, the match between the two at the 2-year anniversary spectacular was set. With Riki forced to face Empire in the main event, it led to a disqualification, causing Warren Jaxon, Sam Pullen, and Greg Williams to intervene. With Empire taken out and Sam Pullen looking on, one can only assume what Sam will do next. Continuing the night with tag team action, enter Triple J. Jimmy and Jack return to our screens, happy to be rid of their annoying ex-manager, Jillian Day. Enter El Fuego. Match 2. Triple J vs El Fuego. The friendly teams share great counters and sequences, leading to El Fuego hitting their fireball finisher. About to win, the match is cancelled by the entrance of the President. Promo. Enter Sam Pullen. Sam walks down the ramp with disgust, calling the match off. He claims that he has had a terrible 2 weeks as his adrenaline family are still not replying to him on social media and not returning his calls. Team Impetus and El Fuego are to blame for this, as if it weren't for their selfish victory 2 weeks ago, his team wouldn't be so embarrassed and humiliated to talk to him. Sam aims to regain the adrenaline name by defeating Riki Mathews at the 2-year anniversary spectacular. He claims that having little interaction with his team has actually given him more time and motivation to train for the match. He warns Riki that he is stepping into the ring with the most fearless and threatening version of himself than ever before and is ready for a war. The President hopes to gain some power by reminding Synxia of his adrenaline roots. With adrenaline forced to be banished, so too must Synxia. This match has been cancelled due to one member of the match not actually allowed to be a part of the company anymore. Readying to vacate the tag team titles, Sam starts to release Synxia from his employment, only for Riki Mathews to halt the scene. Enter Riki Mathews. Riki can't believe Sam's inferiority complex, attempting to fire Synxia to regain the little dignity he has left. Sam may not have realised it last week, but before walking off on Riki during their confrontation, while yelling at him in the back and before sending him out for a handicap match, Riki wanted to make an announcement. With Sam pumped up for their match and motivated to retrieve Adrenaline's grand reputation, what Riki was going to say last week is going to be twice as sweet to say right now. When he said last week that the legal papers will be hanging in the balance, he meant it. Literally. Riki won't just be facing Sam in a simple one-on-one contest. No. Riki will be kicking Sam's ass in a ladder match. With Sam stunned, Riki exits just like Sam did last week, all with El Fuego and Triple J laughing at their speechless boss as we head into a commercial break. Impetus returns advertising the next pay-per-view. The 2-year anniversary spectacular 3-hour episode will host the ownership versus lawsuit ladder match between Sam Pullen and Riki Mathews. After this huge announcement, we then cut to a backstage scene in the parking lot. A replay from earlier tonight is seen, with Greg Williams walking through the arena prepared for his own handicap match tonight against Empire. Tonight, a 2-on-1 handicap match between Empire and Greg Williams is set for the main event. Will the President ever stop his unfair treatment? After all the admin, we then get back to competition. Enter Jimmy Sparrow. Speaking of the world champion, here comes the new #1 contender. Jimmy enters with hesitation after what he experienced earlier tonight with Mark Emille and Jarvis Banks. Enter Steven Dreadful. CJ is Steven's biggest cheerleader after what he did to Chris Vortex last week. Match 3. Jimmy Sparrow vs. Steven Dreadful. Despite being beaten down by Steven, Jimmy shows perseverance by fighting back and gaining offense. In the height of his aggression, backstage footage is shown on the screen, seeing Emille knocked out in the parking lot with Jarvis Banks screaming, demanding medical attention. All with a mangled crowbar on the floor. Jimmy views this from the ring and is about to exit, only to realise he should remain focused. Rolled up quickly by Steven, Jimmy kicks out and enters a sequence of counters, finally hitting the Canadian Destroyer and winning the match. Winner, Jimmy Sparrow. Despite winning, Jimmy exits instantly, in hopes to check on his friends. Meanwhile, CJ tends to Steven while he recovers outside the ring. While CJ takes care of Steven Dreadful like a father does to a child, we then cut to the backstage area in the parking lot, featuring Emille, Jarvis Banks and Jimmy Sparrow. Emille is still KO'd on the floor, now surrounded by medical personnel. With Jarvis Banks worried for his friend, tensions heighten as Jimmy Sparrow arrives at the scene. Jimmy wants to help, with Jarvis banning him from doing so, furious that he chose his career over his friend. With Jimmy trying to defend himself, Jarvis shouts with rage. Clearly, this is the work of Dylan Dark, and Jarvis believes he's only going to be next. Only, no one will be there for him, as Mark will still be injured, and Jimmy will be looking after himself. Jimmy tries to reason with his friend, only for Jarvis to make it clear how he feels. With Mark about to be hospitalized and Jimmy far too interested in himself, it seems as though the only person to stop Dylan Dark is him. Next week, Jarvis Banks is calling out Dylan Dark. He wants to finish this before it continues, and he's going to do it without Jimmy's help. Jarvis tells Jimmy to get the hell out of here before he makes the situation worse. Jimmy sighs and exits with sadness as Jarvis and the doctors tend to Mark. Saddened by the previous scenes, the commentators try to move on by advertising what's next for the show. Tonight, Gary Federline returns. After missing out on episode 100, Gary Federline hopes to regain his momentum. Also, the #1 Contenders All-Women's Battle Royal takes place. Kelly Sales, Jackie Sky, Susan, Jade Williams, Jacinta and Akira compete to become the next challenger to Daria's women's title. Enter Angel. Ready for her anticipated match against the women's champion, Angel enters alone and without backup. Enter Daria. As Daria enters the ring, Angel holds the scene by speaking on the microphone. Cocky as ever, Angel claims that a match this big needs to be for the title. As a result, Angel wants to wait for this match to take place. Perhaps wait, say, 2 weeks? Angel promises that Daria will get her hands on immunity soon enough. Only, the title will be on the line. Cancelling their match, Angel announces herself and her partner, Courtney, as contenders in the Battle Royal tonight. With Daria irritated, Angel explains that she isn't competing against her right now, as she has another idea in mind. Daria then gets blindsided by Courtney. Beaten down in a 2-on-1 assault, Daria tries to fight back, only to eventually be sent through a table in the ring with the Doomsday device. Angel and Courtney prepare for the Battle Royal later in the evening as Daria lays in pain. We then transition to a backstage segment in Sam Pullen's office, featuring Sam Pullen and Charlie Finch. The president is stressing in his office, on the phone to Dave Falcon. The two are arguing about the ladder match at the 2-year anniversary spectacular, in which may be Sam's last night as the owner. Then, knocks at the door are heard, with Sam having to stop the debate and deal with Charlie Finch, who enters alone. Finch demands to once again be taken seriously, finally able to take back his coast-to-coast championship. Sam interrupts and says that he has enough on his plate right now, ordering Finch to leave as he is trying to talk to Dave Falcon. Finch is irritated and asks if that is the same Dave Falcon that stole the Coast to Coast title from him at Insurgency. Sam responds with attitude. As a matter of fact, it is. Dave Falcon is also his close personal friend and won't have anybody speak badly about him. Finch grabs Sam's phone and hangs up instantly. He tells his boss that he and his immunity have been very patient over the past few weeks, letting Team Impetus and Team Adrenaline decide who the better unit is. With Adrenaline gone and never coming back, Finch advises that Sam creates a more reliable ally, as the chance for a more dependable friend may be running out. It looks as though Sam is going to have to get creative with the little control he has left in the company, as, come the 2-year anniversary spectacular, he may not have any weight to throw around. Finch exits after throwing Sam's phone in the air. The boss grabs it and immediately calls for help yet again. Enter Gary Federline. As Gary enters, a replay from episode 98 is shown. Highlights of the last month are seen where Gary was taken out of Team Impetus versus Team Adrenaline due to an ambush by the Infliction. With Adrenaline being vanquished at episode 100, Gary is ready to rebuild his career. Enter Bobby Manuel with Jerry Cain. Associates of Charlie Finch, the Immunity Boys are ready to do their leader a favour. Match 4. Gary Federline versus Bobby Manuel with Jerry Cain. During the match, Gary attempts a pin on Bobby, only for the Immunity member to kick out, sending Gary into the official. With the referee healing, it opens the evil duo up for a 2-on-1 attack. Hoping to hit the vaccination, the slightly hurt official sees this and ejects Jerry from the action. With Immunity furious with the official, they present an opportunity for their leader, Charlie Finch, to enter the ring, turn Gary around, and hit the full effect. Finch exits immediately, with Bobby picking up the scraps and the referee oblivious. Winner, Bobby Manuel. After the match, Immunity exit, continuing their control while Gary recovers in pain and frustration. As the night continues, we see backstage footage in Greg Williams' locker room. Greg is seen lacing his boots, preparing for his match against Empire later tonight. Up next, the number 1 Contenders All-Women's Battle Royal. With Angel and Courtney now added to the mix, the 6 women have now become 8. As we return from the commercial break, Match 5 takes place. The number 1 Contenders All-Women's Battle Royal. Angel versus Courtney versus Kelly Sales versus Jackie Skar versus Susan versus Jade versus Jacinta versus Akira. With everyone already entered, the bell rings as soon as we come back live, starting the Battle Royal, ready to declare the new challenger to the women's title at the 2-year anniversary spectacular. The Immunity girls stick and work together. Jacinta tries to hide from Susan while she destroys the inexperienced Kelly Sales and Jackie Skar. First and second elimination, Kelly Sales and Jackie Skar by Susan. With Susan intimidating all around her, the match continues until she gets confronted by the unconfident Akira. Akira throws staggering punches until the demonic sister bites her forehead, sending her to the corner. Attempting to eliminate the mortal, Susan gets shoved away and receives a shocking tornado DDT out of nowhere by Akira. Akira is just as shocked as us and is congratulated by Jacinta, who gives her a pat on the back. With Akira unamused, Jacinta realizes this and the two begin a sequence of counters, leading to Jacinta digging her fingers in Akira's eye. Temporarily blinded, Akira stumbles to the corner, trying her best to defend herself. Although fending off Jacinta, Susan delivers a huge splash in the corner, followed by the revival kick, allowing Jacinta to throw Akira out of the ring. Third elimination, Akira by Jacinta. Jacinta attempts to side with yet another competitor, patting Susan on the back. However, the satanic sister hates to be touched and clutches the throat of Jacinta. With Jacinta's fate seemingly set, Jade Williams turns Susan around, lifts her for a powerbomb, and throws her out of the ring, landing on the recovering and previously eliminated opponents. Fourth elimination, Susan by Jade Williams. Once again trying to find an ally, Jacinta pats the back of her former bodyguard. Jade hates to receive the affection and hopes to beat down her enemy, only to be attacked by Angel and Courtney. With Jacinta joining in, Courtney does most of the work, hitting Jade with some brutal kicks. As Jacinta calls the shots from afar, she wants some of the fatigued Jade Williams. Courtney and Angel give their ally some space, leaning back against the ropes, only to be dragged by the hair over the top rope by the suddenly appearing Daria. The fifth and sixth elimination, Angel and Courtney. Punishing the Immunity members for their actions from earlier, Daria chases the Immunity girls up the ramp, leaving Jacinta all alone with the recovering Jade Williams. Jade stares intensely at her former employer and destroys her, leading to the final elimination, declaring Jade the new challenger. Seventh elimination, Jacinta by Jade Williams. Winner, Jade Williams. With a new challenger created, we then transition to a backstage segment in the hallway between Jimmy Sparrow and Greg Williams. Standing outside a locker room, Jimmy continues to knock, hoping to talk to Jarvis Banks. With Jimmy stressed, hoping to apologize, he gets approached by the world champion. Greg looks at him up and down and reminds him of what he said last week. Jimmy needs to stay focused. Greg walks off, with Jimmy disappointed in himself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in just 2 weeks' time, the 2-year anniversary spectacular 3-hour special episode takes place, featuring the World Impetus Championship match between Greg Williams defending against Jimmy Sparrow. And the question is, can Jimmy focus? Also, the ownership versus lawsuit ladder match between Sam Pullen and Riki Mathews. Will Sam Pullen leave Impetus, or will Riki Mathews have to face the law? And the Women's Championship will be on the line, as just announced, Daria will defend against her new challenger, Jade Williams. The show then moves on to a promo segment. Enter Chris Vortex. The annoying vegan enters with irritation, seeking answers after last week. As he enters, a replay from last week is shown. With the quota reforming once again, they lost to El Fuego, leading to Steven Dreadful dropping his former partner. Chris realizes he's not exactly the most likable guy in the world. He's fully aware of the lifestyle changes that both he and Steven Dreadful have made since they separated from the quota. However, one thing he can't quite understand is why he got dropped last week. Chris is then interrupted by CJ at the commentary desk, who claims that he can answer that question. CJ gets in the ring and confronts Chris, telling him that after speaking to his good friend Steven Dreadful, it's become obvious to him that Chris was, is, and always will be the weak link of the quota. CJ agrees with this as he tells Chris to take a look at the heights that Steven's career has ascended to. He's selling for the best in the business, all while Chris is trying to sell lettuce. CJ claims that Steven doesn't want to associate with losers anymore and will never compete under the quota banner any longer. With Chris upset, CJ tells him to go make a cucumber sandwich and leave. CJ attempts to swagger out of the ring, only to be grabbed by Chris. The vegan is about to punch the commentator's face, only to be blindsided by the reappearing Steven Dreadful. CJ runs back to the announce desk while Steven hits the arrival on his former partner. He leaves, tipping his hat to his good friend, CJ. After the attack, we then jump scenes to the backstage hallway featuring Empire and Warren Jaxon. Empire prepare for their second main event in a row, only to be shoved to the side by Warren Jaxon. The Coast to Coast champion refuses to acknowledge his former allies, leaving Empire in the background complaining. The
The camera follows Warren, ready for his upcoming matchup. Enter Warren Jaxon. CJ complains about his recent treatment from Chris Vortex and further complains about the attitude of Warren Jaxon. CJ has received word that the Coast to Coast title will be on the line in 2 weeks, but against who? Enter Cain with Bobby Manuel. Immunity hope to continue their dominance as they enter with huge confidence due to their win against Federline from earlier. Match 6. Warren Jaxon vs Cain with Bobby Manuel. Winner, Warren Jaxon. As Warren celebrates, he is interrupted by Terri Delighta. Interrupting Warren, Terri enters on stage and reminds all of the proposal he made to his partner last week. Last week, Terri became the manager of Johnny Fabuloso, both in and out of the ring, as he became his permanent and only modelling agent. In the space of a week, Terri has gotten Johnny some great modelling gigs. The only issue is, they've had to be postponed due to Johnny's face mask still being needed to protect his pretty little head. However, things are looking up, as in 2 weeks' time, Johnny will no longer need to wear the face mask any longer, and his gorgeous face will be seen all over GQ magazine, seen on every billboard in New York City, and scattered all through Gucci, Prada, and Dolce & Gabbana stores. Warren stops the speech and asks why Terri is using his time to promote his ugly-ass boyfriend. Okay, first of all, Terri declines the idea that Johnny is his boyfriend. Secondly, Johnny has far more action than the all-action Jaxon, thank you very much. Thirdly, Terri has interrupted Warren's celebration as he has further information he thought he'd deliver to him personally. In 2 weeks' time, not only will Johnny be taking his first photo shoot without the mask, but he will be doing it with the Coast to Coast title. Thanks to the managerial prowess of himself, Terri announces that the 2-year anniversary spectacular will have Warren Jaxon defend his title against Johnny Fabuloso. Terri exits after telling Warren that his promised year-long title reign won't even make it past a month. With one confrontation ending, another is about to begin as we cut to Backstage where we see Greg Williams and Sam Pullen. Greg is walking through the hallway with his title in hand, pumped up for his handicap match. However, he is stopped by an irritated Sam Pullen. Sam tells Greg that he will never be forgiven for what he did at episode 100. He has ordered Empire to make sure he doesn't make it to the 2-year anniversary spectacular. Greg tells Sam that he doesn't care about what he does anymore, as he is the World Impetus Champion and there is no more adrenaline left to ruin it. Empire are going to get their asses whooped in a couple of minutes, just like Sam is going to get his ass whooped by Riki Mathews in a couple of weeks. Greg has given a lot of advice lately and offers some to his boss. He recommends Sam make full use of running things around here, as after 2 years of feeding his own ego, Sam will be just as old, useless, and pathetic as his adrenaline bitches. Greg scoffs and exits, leaving Sam furious. Ready for the main event, Empire enter, followed by Greg Williams. Main event, Match 7, 2-on-1 handicap match between Empire and Greg Williams. Dealing with the constant tags by Corey and Blake, Greg is eventually able to fight back and hit the scrutiny on Blake, gaining the victory. However, Greg's music is cut short by Sam Pullen. Entering on stage, Sam speaks to his rival. Even after Greg got what he wanted at episode 100, he still can't resist pushing Sam's buttons. Sam is happy to retaliate, stating that if this is truly his last 2 weeks in power, then he's going to make sure his show ends his way. This match will now be restarted as a handicap tornado tag team match, where Greg must face Empire 2-on-1 with no tags required. Sam sniggers as Greg scowls at his boss. The champion gets turned around by Corey, beginning the restarted contest. In the match, Corey combines forces with the recovered Blake, hitting multiple double-team moves. However, the Thunder from Down Under gets reversed, allowing Greg to hit the Gordo Cutter on Blake and tapping out Corey instantly with the Triangle Choke. With Greg's music playing yet again, it gets cut once again by the President. Sam enters on stage again, The boss acts clumsy, stating that he forgot to mention that it was supposed to be a no disqualification match. Whoopsie! Sam exits with a grin while Greg shakes his head with frustration. Corey smacks Greg in the back with a kendo stick, leading to another Empire beatdown. Empire have had enough and trap Greg against the ropes, ready to smack him in the head with a steel chair. However, Greg pushes Corey away, breaks free from the ropes, and throws Blake out of the ring. Greg is enraged as he strips the announce table and sends Blake through the desk. The world champion slides back in the ring, ready to pummel his remaining opponent, only for Corey to kick Greg right in the nuts. Greg falls down instantly with Corey recovering. As Corey once again prepares to use the steel chair, Warren Jaxon appears from out of nowhere and hits Corey with another overdrive. With the president furious, he charges in the ring to stop the all-action Jaxon, only for Warren to bail through the crowd, giggling at his own rebellion. With Sam focused on the exiting Warren, he turns around to see the recovering Greg Williams stare at him with a smirk. As the president stands in fear, Greg slowly grabs the previously dropped steel chair in hopes to use it on his boss. Prepared to whack the head off of the president, Greg instead hits the oncoming Corey in the head with it. The deafening headshot causes Corey to collapse, but also allows Sam Pullen to escape the ring. Greg glares at his boss as he covers Corey for the third win of the evening. Winner, Greg Williams.